And we have seen his glory, the glory of the only Son of the Father. The calling of the 12. Matthew 10, verses 1 to 4. Jesus called his 12 disciples to him and gave them authority to cast out evil spirits and to heal every kind of disease and illness. Here are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, who is also called Peter. And Andrew, his brother. James, the son of Zebedee. And John, his brother. Philip. And Bartholomew. Thomas. Matthew, the tax collector. James, the son of Alphaeus. Thaddeus. Simon the Zealot. And Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. The hour of darkness. You will all fall away. Matthew 26, 30 to 35. Then they sang a hymn and went out to the Mount of Olives. Tonight, all of you will desert me, Jesus told them. For the scriptures say, God will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have been raised from the dead, I will go ahead of you to Galilee and meet you there. Peter declared, even if everyone else deserts you, I never will. Peter, Jesus replied, the truth is, this very night, before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. No, Peter insisted, not even if I have to die with you. I will never deny you. And the other disciples vowed the same. My betrayer is at hand. Matthew 26, 36 to 46. Then Jesus brought them to an olive grove called Gethsemane, and he said, sit here while I go on ahead to pray. He took Peter and Zebedee's 2 sons, James and John, and he began to be filled with anguish and deep distress. He told them, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and watch with me. He went on a little farther and fell face down on the ground, praying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet not what I want, but what you want. Then he returned to the disciples and found them asleep. He said to Peter, couldn't you stay awake and watch with me even 1 hour? Keep alert and pray. Otherwise temptation will overpower you. For though the spirit is willing enough, the body is weak. Again he left them and prayed, my Father, if this cup cannot be taken away until I drink it, your will be done. He returned to them again and found them sleeping, for they just couldn't keep their eyes open. So he went back to pray a third time, saying the same things again. And then he came back to the disciples and said, "Still sleeping? Still resting? Look, the time has come. I, the Son of Man, am betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. My betrayer is at hand." The first betrayal, Matthew 26, 47 to 50. And even as he said this, Judas, one of the 12 disciples, arrived with a mob that was armed with swords and clubs. They had been sent by the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now Judas had given them a sign, saying, "The one I kiss will be the man. Arrest him." And at once he came up to Jesus and he said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus said to him, "Friend, do what you have come here to do." And then they came and laid hands on Jesus and arrested him. The second betrayal, Matthew 26, verse 56. And then all of the disciples deserted him and fled. The final betrayal, Luke 22, verse 54 to 62. So they arrested him and led him to the high priest's residence, and Peter was following far behind. The guards lit a fire in the courtyard and sat around it, and Peter joined them there. A servant girl noticed him in the firelight and began staring at him. Finally she said, "This man was one of Jesus' followers." Peter denied it. "Woman," he said, "I don't even know the man." After a while, someone else looked at him and said, "You must be one of them." "No, man, I am not," Peter replied. About an hour later, someone else insisted, "This must be one of Jesus' disciples because he's a Galilean too." But Peter said, "Man, I do not know what you are talking about." And as soon as he said these words, the cock crowed, and the Lord turned and looked at Peter. And Peter remembered what the Lord had said. "Before the cock crows today, you will deny me 3 times." And he went out and wept bitterly. The power of darkness. The trial, Mark 14, verses 53 to 65. Jesus was led to the high priest's home, where the chief priests and the elders and the scribes had gathered. Now the chief priests and the entire high council were trying to find witnesses that would testify against Jesus so they could put him to death. But their efforts were in vain. Many false witnesses spoke against him, but they contradicted each other. Finally, some men stood up to testify against him with this lie. "We heard him say, 'I will destroy this temple made with human hands, and in 3 days I will build another made without human hands.' Yet not even so did their testimony agree." Then the high priest stood up before the others and asked Jesus, Have you no answer to make? What is it that they testify against you?" But he was silent and made no answer. Again the high priest asked him, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the blessed God?" Jesus said, "I am, and you will see me, the Son of Man, sitting at God's right hand in a place of power and coming back on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore at his clothing to show his horror and said, "Why do we need other witnesses? You have all heard his blasphemy. What is your verdict?" And they all condemned him to death. And then some of them began to spit at him, and they blindfolded him and hit him with their fists. "Who hit you that time, you prophet?" they jeered. And the guards received him with blows.